Today we're making an easy caramel sheet cake. And you're gonna love it, especially if you don't like those flavors of fall, like the cinnamon, nutmeg, and allspice, things like that. But even if you do like those spices, you still are gonna like this cake. It has a nice fall caramel icing on top of it with a little bit of caramel drizzle. And it reminds me of a cake that my grandmother used to make us when we came to visit. It's just a plain white sheet cake with caramel icing on top, but mine's a little bit different. It's got that drizzle. She never did that. So I've got the butter and the sugar in the mixing bowl, and now I'm just going to cream those two together. And we're just going to cream those together till they're nice and fluffy and creamy, and then we're going to start adding our egg yolks. We separated them in the beginning, remember, so we're going to add one at a time and beat slowly after each one. Now I'm going to take the flour mixture that I had with the baking soda and the baking powder and salt and the buttermilk, and I'm going to alternatively add those and mix them, starting with the flour and ending with the flour. And I'll scrape down the bowl as I go along. A little bit of buttermilk. Some more flour. All right, the last of the buttermilk. And now the last of the flour. Just a little bit more. So we're going to add a teaspoon of vanilla right now. So remember those egg whites I separated before? Here's where we're going to use them now. Just get another large clean bowl and add your egg whites in it. It might take several minutes. Here's what we're looking like now. It's standing up there nice and stiff all on its own. It took probably about 3 minutes to do that, 3 or 4 minutes. Now the last thing we have to do as far as getting the cake together is to add these egg whites into our batter, and we're going to do it very gently. I usually go around the edge and then pull through the middle. We're just going to do this until everything is all mixed together and you see no egg whites. All right, it looks pretty good to me. All right, I'm going to use the old-fashioned method of greasing and flouring my pan. You can actually buy the baking spray in the grocery store, but I already have the Crisco and the flour ready, so that's what I'm going to use today. Works just as well, probably better. You just want to make sure every inch of that pan is covered, and then I'm going to add a little bit of flour and just shake and tilt. All right, we're going to put this in the pan, get it in the oven, and let it bake. It's a really nice batter. All right, this is going to go into a 350 preheated oven for 25 to 30 minutes. Okay, my cake just came out of the oven. It took longer than what I expected it to be. Actually, it took about 10 minutes longer. Now, I don't know if that's because I baked in a glass pan. It could have been. If you can look down there, it has pulled away from the edges. That's a huge indicator that it is finished. Let's do the toothpick test. I'm going to go right down to the center. And it came out clean. So it's ready. It's time to get started on our icing now. I'm going to first measure out my confectionery sugar. I like using a scale as opposed to the measuring cups. It gives you a more accurate measurement and you use less dishes. I like using a whisk rather than a sifter. It does the same purpose. Gets rid of any clumps that might be stuck together in the sugar. All right, we're going to set that aside until we need it. I'm going to measure out my dark brown sugar the same way. We need 1.5 cups of dark brown sugar. All right, our next step in the frosting is we're going to saucepan out on the stove and 3/4 cup of butter, and we're going to melt that butter in that saucepan. All right, butter is melted. We're going to add in the brown sugar now, and we're going to stir that until it melts. Actually, we're going to stir this now and let it come to a simmer, and then we're going to cook it for a minute, stirring it constantly. All right, it's come to a simmer now, and we're going to set our timer for 1 minute. And we're going to stir this until that timer goes off. There's a minute. Didn't take long. All right, we're gonna remove that from the heat now. And we're going to pour in 5 tablespoons of whole milk. And we're going to stir again. We're going to return it to the heat again, and then we're going to wait for it to simmer, and it's already there. Set the timer again for 1 minute, and keep stirring. All right, we're coming back to that confectionery sugar again now. We're going to take our brown sugar concoction, pour it over the sugar. We're going to add in a half a teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And now we're just going to beat with the electric mixer until it is smooth. Now we're going to pour it over the cake, and you want to be quick because this icing will harden. We could stop right there if we wanted to. That's good. I got a taste. It's good. Just as a reminder, my recipes for both the cake and the frosting will be in my description box. It's a good old Southern vanilla cake with caramel icing. It's delicious just like it is, and I think it'll be a nice addition to your Thanksgiving table or any other table for that matter. And we're going to try something else. We're going to put a caramel sauce on top as well. My grandmother never did that, neither have I. So we're going to try it. We'll see if it works or not. And if you want to check it out, come on with me. Okay, since this is the first time that I've ever made this, I'm going to be looking at my directions quite a bit. It tells me to sprinkle my sugar evenly on the bottom of a saucepan. There. All right, next step was we take 2 tablespoons of water and 1 tablespoon of light corn syrup and stir them together and pour it over top of the sugar. And then we're going to stir this just until all the sugar is moistened. We're not going to stir it, but we're going to cook it over medium-high heat until it's golden brown. All right, I think it's looking pretty golden brown to me. So we're going to turn it off and take it off the heat. And then we're going to add 1 tablespoon of cold unsalted butter and 1/8 teaspoon of salt. I'm going to stir that up until the butter's melted. Oh, it's looking like caramel sauce. All right, butter is melted. Now the next step is to take half a cup of heavy cream, and we're going to microwave it for about 30 seconds until it's warm but not boiling. All right, the next step is to take that warmed cream and put it into the caramel. It says it's going to foam. It did a little bit, not much. And we're going to stir this until it's smooth. Oh, it's like caramel on the bottom. And we're going to put it back onto the stove on low heat for about another minute. Because you can use this caramel sauce for lots of things, like ice cream, pour it over top of brownies. Put a little bit in the cocoa maybe. And there goes my timer. I'm really anxious to find out how this caramel cake came together. It looks really good. The crumb is really soft and tender, and the caramel looks really good drizzled over top too. So let's give it a try. It's sort of reminds me of a pound cake. It's got that kind of textured, little heftier taste, which goes real well with the caramel. And that caramel sauce just tops it off. Perfect fall dessert. Sometimes we forget about caramel for the fall, but this will bring you back. It's good. Really good.